Hi, my name is Norbert, and this is the second episode of the Kotlin Basics tutorial series. In this episode, I would like to talk about variables and the basic types in the Kotlin language. So let's just get started. I opened the same application as we had in the first example or first episode. I removed the printout and I just a comment into that one. So the first thing what we should have is a variable, and in Kotlin you can create with a var keyword and just create something. Let's call it second episode. So to define a variable you need to have two things or three things. You need to specify a keyword, so you want to have a var, a variable. You will have a name of that variable, in this case is title, and the right side is what's going to be the value of that variable. You might see that I didn't specify any type information here. So Kotlin is like has a type inference in it. So actually you can infer the type information from the right side. So actually it knows it's going to be like a string. So I could print that one. And then I can just do like this. And then run this. You might see that there is like some indication here that there is an issue with this println function, and then says that I should use concatenation instead of this plus. And why is this one? In Java you may have something like this one. You have a name. Let's say that this is my name. So I created two variables, and then this is very typical. Let's say typical and bad. Typical in my name is again plus and name. So as you may see, if you get something like this when you try to concatenate strings and then combine these together, after some time you will be like too many strings, and then you won't really see what you're printing. It's gonna be always like cut in the middle. So in Kotlin you have string templates. String templates is like a very powerful tool to have a nice string concatenation, and then you can use variables in that one. So you can actually use the title and the name. So this is important to notice that you need to have the $sign. If you miss that one, then it's just a normal string or a normal word in the sentence. So you need to be specific. If you want, you can actually be specific about. You can specify the type information. So this is actually a string. But as you might see, Kotlin or IntelliJ says this is not really needed here. You can actually remove it because it knows from the right side. Of course, it may happen that we don't know yet the value of the variable. In that case, you need to be specific about the variable type itself. And of course, you can immediately see if I remove the value, then this is a compilation error that the value or the variable is not initialized. So I'm not able to run it because it's not compiling. So I need to be add value to it. So I just put my name back, and now this is like again compiling. So now I split the declaration and definition into two lines, but in this case it's mandatory to add type information, otherwise Kotlin won't know. It cannot connect these two. It doesn't know the type of the name variable. But of course you can just make it one line, but I can just leave it and make it explicit. The next very type what we should learn about is integers. So let's say that I want to have an episode number, and this is going to be like 2. And of course this is just a normal number what you can use. Let's print that one. Again, you can use strings template and just print it. There are like different types of numbers, but the most common one, the integer and the floating number. Let's say that you have a duration of the video, and the duration is going to be I don't know, let's say it in minutes, like 7.4. And of course you see this is a floating number because it has a dot, so it's not an integer. Usually in Kotlin by default this is going to be a double, so it's called a double. If I can type, so it's a double. Of course you can there are like different type of floating numbers, but that's for the beginning it's enough if you know that there are like different types of numbers, and then you can like choose which one you want to have, what's the precision what you're looking for. But if you don't specify it, then it will just be double for you. The video duration is duration. Good. Let's just add a few lines here. So the next thing what we should talk about is when you have an either true or false answer to a question. So for example, is video live or is live? So let's say that I have the video and you want to know that if it's like currently alive or not. And then this is where we can use Boolean variables, and then it can have only 2 values, true or false. And then we will use this variable in conditions if you want to do different action based on this variable value. So you can have, as I said, true or false. And of course, I'm just gonna maybe move back. And then usually Boolean variables, you can actually, as I mentioned, there are like answer a specific question on air. And then you can like print that variable also. You might have noticed that there are like some indication in names, or under the name actually, all the variables are underlined. It's because IntelliJ tells you that there is like some issue with these variables. We are defining those, but we're not really changing those. So actually you can use vals instead of vars. So var means that you know that it's not going to change. Var can be changed. So this is changeable. But the val is not, it's called immutable. So of course I could use mutable here. So it's kind of important to notice that if you have a var, let's say that you can change the duration of the video to say 12.5, but the is live is not changeable anymore. You will get the compilation error that you're trying to reassign a val variable or val variable, and that's not allowed. If you want to change it, you need to explicitly say that, yeah, this can be changed. So when you're defining your variables, you need to make sure that you're using a correct keyword. And of course, that's why there is an indication here that Kotlin tries to show you that you shouldn't use vars, because that's like maybe not really necessary or not required. So maybe you should start with vals. So it's a good practice to have. You always to have vals instead of vars. And then when you know that you want to change it, then you make it a var. So this is a good practice to get familiar with it. The important thing is that you always start with a val. It cannot be changed. If you're coming from Java, this can mean that this is kind of a final variable. You don't want to change it anymore. And then if you have a variable which might or which changes, then you specify as a var, but only if it's changed. Otherwise, don't use var. So again, the only difference, the difference between val and var, that the val cannot be changed. Okay, so just to recap, we defined strings, how to use those, but like just normal characters. We talked about numbers, how you can have integers, and how you can have floating numbers. We specified Boolean variables, true or false. And then we talked about like what's the difference between val and var. So I think this is good for the basics stuff. And in the next episode we will talk about functions. Well, because so far we used only our main function. So thanks for watching and see you in the next episode. Bye.